In the heart of an industrial district, in an old warehouse with no windows, one of the world's premier Christian sculptors works, fueled by a passion that drives him for up to 15 hours a day. Like a monk in a monastery, his is a life of seclusion, work, and contemplation. Timothy P. Schmalz, creator of such modern masterpieces as the Memorial to Mother Teresa and the Millennium Monument to Christ's birth in Bethlehem, is the most celebrated sculptor to emerge from this continent in more than 100 years. From this intimate portrait of Joseph and child to the enormous national mining monument for the city of Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, Tim's body of work is as expansive and diverse as his worldwide following. Tim is seen here working on Tribute to the New Millennium, a powerful statement about the future of humanity. Tim portrays our collective past and present as a bulb, like a shoot from the earth reaching up to the sun. The hands of God rise and open to reveal its blossom, the risen Christ. Born and raised in rural Canada, Tim discovered his passion for sculpture at age 16. His considerable talent was obvious, and he was accepted by Toronto's prestigious Ontario College of Art. Skipping countless classes in art history and theory, Tim instead hid in the college's basement studio and sculpted, often being locked in the school overnight, where he worked until dawn. Feeling constrained by his college experience, Tim leased his first studio, a 10 by 20 room with no heat. During this period, Tim continued to discover his voice, abandoning his previous efforts in abstract art, which were devoid of personal meaning. Tim received his first commission at the age of 19, a figurative sculpture for the Roman Catholic Church. This commission was the first of more than 100 original commissions that Tim has done for the church worldwide. The process of creating these images is one that Tim himself would find difficult to explain. Tim has described a point in the process where the piece seems to be defining itself, and Tim feels more like a passenger than a creator. Creation consumes Tim, sometimes to the point of utter exhaustion. Clay, the only medium that Tim will sculpt in, gives Tim the freedom to redefine and reshape his piece as it evolves. Timothy compares sculpting in clay to that of a chalkboard and brush. Clay dries quickly, however, so a work in progress must be watered down several times a day to keep the clay malleable. Once the clay original is complete, the lengthy and complicated bronzing process begins. The sculpture shown here, entitled Deliverance, challenges the common perceptions of the resurrection. In this sculpture, Tim explores Christ's transformation from the human to the divine and eternal. Tim's attention to detail is an obsession. Using dental instruments to achieve the intricate and subtle features, this master sculptor insists that every one of these strokes is a critical part of the story. From a distance, this painstaking effort may not be noticeable, but upon close examination, Tim's uncanny ability to perfect even the tiniest figures becomes obvious. This visual revelation is all part of Tim's plan. First, the viewer is drawn in by the eminence of the sculpture, and then the story unfolds the longer and closer the piece is studied. Saint Therese, the Little Flower, arguably one of the most beloved Catholic saints of all time, is revered for her inspired writings. Tim depicts her writings as they take on a life of their own, rising from her page as angels and ascending into heaven, depicted as a rose, a symbol of love, beauty, and perfection. In 1996, Tim sculpted his most famous piece to date, a tribute to the Holy Family, entitled A Quiet Moment. Praised for its emotion, modern interpretation, and uncanny likenesses, this piece is Tim's most popular by far, with more than 10,000 miniatures sold to date. In December 1999, A Quiet Moment was selected to commemorate the 2000th anniversary of the birth of Christ in Bethlehem. Tim sculpted A Quiet Moment when he was 27 years old. At over 6 feet tall and 8 feet wide, this bronze sculpture will be the largest monument in the Holy Land. Tim is seen developing the monument's wax cast, using the model size as a reference. An arduous process, Tim sculpts all of his enlargements by hand. Most artists allow other sculptors to handle their duplications. Tim, however, sculpts all of his enlargements himself, after attempts by artists from Italy to Mexico failed to meet Tim's exacting standards. The detailing of the wax cast is the final step before the piece is poured into bronze, a process which will take several months and more than 3 tons of the precious metal to complete. The lost wax method of casting bronze has remained virtually unchanged for some 6,000 years. Although technology has contributed some refinements to the process, it has yet to invent a more perfect method for casting bronze. Here, a cauldron of molten bronze, which has been tempered to over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, is lifted from the underground furnace. The wax cast that Tim has worked on has been sectioned so that it can be bronzed in manageable pieces and reassembled later. The hollow mold of one piece has been buried within a cement block to protect it from disintegrating under the intense heat. The molten bronze is shown here being poured into the cement block, where it will be left to cool. After the piece is cooled, the once solid cement block crumbles like sand to reveal the raw bronze cast. The individual sections are now reassembled by bronze welding them together. Any flaws left by the casting are smoothed out by hand with a traditional hammer and chisel. Many people believe there is only one color of bronze. In truth, raw bronze is gold, as opposed to the statuary brown that we usually see. This coloring process, called patina, allows the bronze to be tinted in shades from bright blue to traditional metallic brown. While any of Tim's assistants can certainly handle polishing the finished product, that is a job that Tim takes great pleasure in performing himself. The piece will then be crated and shipped more than 10,000 miles to its permanent home in Bethlehem. What was once merely an idea has been transformed into a bronze monument which will endure for centuries to come. Tim's talent has not gone unnoticed in the secular world. Most recently, the city of Sudbury, Ontario, commissioned Tim to build one of the largest bronze sculptures in Canada, a monument honoring miners across the country. At over 15 feet tall, the monument not only depicts the life of the miner, but also portrays the history and evolution of the entire mining industry. Tim's inspiration came from old black and white photos of 7 generations of miners, along with in-depth interviews with contemporary miners and their families. Tim sculpted several hundred miners, ranging from the bare-chested old-timers with picks to their modern descendants wearing protective garb who use sophisticated equipment. The piece also conveys the history of the city of Sudbury, beginning with a single prospector discovering nickel and evolving into the city's modern-day skyline. Emerging from the cityscape, the miners are shown descending into the earth, and their collective work, depicted as giant hands, extract what lies beneath the earth's crust. Timothy's desire to cast his works in bronze metal is well-founded. He wants to ensure that his art will be around for centuries to come. As the most durable material available, bronze allows the artist the freedom of delicate and intricate form without the risk of breakage such as granite or marble. Bronze is also impervious to pitting or cracking in the elements. Perhaps one of the most attractive qualities about bronze is the impression it leaves with the viewer, that it is in fact fine art. In this era of white plastic catalog statues, bronze makes a statement of quality, elegance, and permanence. Tim's early teachers attempted to corral him into the abstract art field, since abstract art is more popular and therefore more saleable. Tim has railed against abstract art, stating that art must speak to lay people and art scholars alike. Timothy also believes that much of today's corporate and public art reflects a politically correct climate where the language of abstract art is so impossible for the general public to interpret that it has become the safe alternative. Timothy also understands that most modern artists resort to shocking the public to get a reaction to an otherwise illegible work of art. Figurative art is a universal language where Tim can explore and express various stages of the human experience: love, conflict, pain, or spirituality. Tim believes that every piece he creates must reflect a certain integrity and talent, and skill, meaning, and message. His philosophy is not original, however. It was shared by the likes of Michelangelo, Rodin, Bernini, and Rembrandt. Tim's enormous talent, passion, and integrity will ensure that his work, likewise, will endure for centuries to come.